green. Are you an ultimate Eagles football fan? Well, you're in the right place. This is Birds 365, hosted by the new Mac and Mac, Jody McDonald and John McMullen.
Here we go.
Who collectively have covered and talked about more than 50 plus years of Eagles football. Kick off your day with Birds 365. You'll get debate.
We love to argue.
You'll get the real story from inside the locker room. And you'll hear from some of the great football minds from around the region. You're about to become an Eagles insider. Get in the game. Join Jody Mack and Johnny Mack and join the football community that flocks to Birds 365. Birds 365 starts right now.
Welcome to the NFL. Let's go.
And good Monday morning, Birds fans. Usually at this time, we're picking apart an Eagles win or an Eagles loss. Not the case this week. We've got hours yet to wait. And Johnny Mack, you've got so many hours left to wait. 8:35 kickoff tonight, somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah, man.
What are you going to do today? You going to go out and buy a car or something? You got all this time to kill before the Eagles play.
Yeah, it's a long day, Jody. Might be 24 hours, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's if you're staggering a Monday night game, here's my complaint. Why not do it East Coast, West Coast, and have the Eagles start?
This? Because that's what they've done in years gone by. They played 2 Monday night games. Usually the first week of the season. Why they're doing it week 2, I have no idea. And yeah, they're going to be the second half of the first game is going to be on during the first half of the Eagles game.
Yeah,
it makes no sense whatsoever.
No, it's an awful decision. Obviously nobody cares that we got to be up so late. But hey, think of it from a fan perspective, and then
absolutely,
they got to go to work tomorrow, a large portion. So I mean, nobody wants to be up that late. Come on, NFL, this doesn't make any sense at all.
It doesn't. And somehow Johnny Mack will get over and through it and be here with me tomorrow morning, 24 hours from now here on Birds 365. And we'll find out, are we talking about an Eagle win or an Eagle loss? Eagles are a slight favorite at home against the Vikings, who are very impressive week 1, handling the Green Bay Packers. That was added to last night with the Packers easily handling the Bears. No one should really be surprised by that because Aaron Rodgers is well on record noting that he owns Chicago, and he did again last night. But the Vikings did look good in their opening win. The Eagles look good offensively in their win in Detroit, but that also got a little bit of a boost yesterday with the Lions putting up another
those Lions.
Another 36 spot, 35 followed by 36. Where the hell is all this Detroit offense coming from?
Yeah, and DeAndre Swift, he hit the over. I said take the under on DeAndre Swift, averaging 9.6 yards per carry. Actually, I said it about Dalvin Cook. Take the under. Who's a better player than DeAndre Swift, but things tend to even out. Now, he only carried it, I think, 5 or 6 times yesterday.
But one
over 11 yards a carry. Over 11 yards a carry. So maybe the Eagles aren't that bad defensively.
Yeah,
maybe.
We'll see how it plays itself out tonight. All right, so we got the Vikings and the Eagles kicking off hours from now. A secondary start after an earlier Monday night start. Again, we don't understand it, but it is game number 2. And yeah, all of a sudden, game number 2 gets a little bit more added importance to it because all the things that happened in the National Football League last week, in addition to the Eagles' 38-35 win in Detroit, the 49ers found a way to lose in the slop in Chicago. came back and won. Oh, I want to ask you about Jimmy G at some point. We won't.
Better to be lucky than good. Better to be lucky than good. San Francisco.
Yeah, but the guy who they've desperately tried to replace is now they got to hang all their hopes on him.
That's what I said. It's better to be lucky than good. You know, injuries happen. How did Trey get hurt? By the way, I didn't see it. Did you see it?
Turned ankle.
No, I know he broke his ankle, but was he in the pocket, out of the pocket?
Oh, I don't remember. We'll have to look that up. But San Francisco comes back and win. Green Bay loses week 1. They come back and win. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have 2 touchdowns in 2 games. But you know what? Also, they have 2 wins because their defense looks really good. The Rams let the Falcons back into that game after it opening up a huge lead against them, but they hung on and won. So all those teams that and the Dallas Cowboys had a lead, let it slip away, but then Maher kicks a 50-yarder, which, oh, by the way, John, I've looked at it like 5 times. Are we sure that field goal went inside the upright for the Cowboys?
Boy, I thought it was no good. When I saw it, I thought it was no good. When I saw it drifting, I said, oh, no, he missed it. And all of a sudden I see the officials go up. I mean, they were right there. It was
right.
I'm sure it was inside.
They can tell better than we can on TV, no matter how big our televisions, high def our televisions are. I'm not suggesting they missed it, but it was this close to not going in. So the Cowboys won as well. So all the teams that we thought would be the Eagles' competitors for the playoff spots all found a way to win yesterday. So the Eagles are going to have to continue to earn it. They earned it despite a lame defensive effort last week against the Lions. Defense got to be better this week because the Vikings are a better offensive team. I'm sorry. Even though the Lions put up 36 points again yesterday against the Commanders, the Vikings just have more offensive talent. Why should we have faith that Jonathan Gannon's defense will be better? I don't know if they are better. I don't know if it'll just be adjustment. I don't know if the guys individually step up and perform better and tackle better than they did last week. Why should we believe the Eagle defense will be better against the Vikings this week than it was against the Lions last week?
Well, I think it starts right there with your last point, Jody. If they miss 14 tackles again, I mean, they're in trouble. They're not going to look good if they miss 14 tackles again. So I think you get sort of a market correction there. Look at Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. This is a Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave and Jordan Davis game because the one weak spot on the Minnesota offense is the interior of their offensive line. So they got to play better. If they played like they did in Detroit, the Eagles are in trouble. I think they will play better. I think they'll correct themselves a little bit. Not Jordan. Jordan played well. Jordan's got to play a little bit more, obviously. So I think it starts there, just players playing better, as simple as that is. I think a lot of players just play poorly in Detroit, to be honest. And we can talk about preparation, all that kind of stuff. You know, extended preseason, the real preseason, whatever you want to call the first couple of weeks in the regular season. So that's number one. Number two, this Minnesota team is really bad against the run. They have been. I think it only gets worse in this new scheme they're running, which is the same scheme as the Eagles run and everybody else runs. I think it only gets worse. So if I'm the top-ranked rushing team in the NFL and I got the +1 in Jalen Hurts, I'm just going to run it down their throat and force them to stop it. And I don't know if they can stop it. So, you know, if I'm going to do one prop bet, Eagles over 200 rushing again against this team. And I think that's how they win the football game.
And if they do that and they find a way to win, I guess someone will find a way to complain about Jalen Hurts running the ball too much. But we'll have to see if that shakes itself out that way tonight. On the one more defensive question. You mentioned everybody now runs the Vic Fangio defense, a lot of zone. Do the Packers run the Fangio defense?
Yep.
Right. How'd that work out for them last week against Minnesota? Here would be my word of advice for Jonathan Gannon if he's listening to Birds 365. I would actually have someone cover Justin Jefferson. He's pretty good. He can catch the ball. He can make plays. He can turn it upfield. Because watching some of the game last week against the Green Bay Packers, he was just running unabated in the secondary. No one even in the same picture as him. How is Justin Jefferson, arguably one of the best 3 wide receivers, 2 wide receivers, one number 1 wide receiver in the NFL? How is he out in the pattern and no one's in the same zip code as him? How can that possibly be?
You know, one of the things that frustrates fans the most is busted coverages. And when you play a lot of zone, in anybody who plays the Fangio style of defense plays a lot of zone, that means, you know, you saw it. You're probably like a proud papa with Tua coming back and throwing for all the touchdowns and yards. You see the 1 touchdown to Tyreek Hill, you can say the same thing.
Where the hell
where are they? They're playing zone, Jody, and they bust the coverage. And
you know who
and the
busted
best
that
player
coverage?
on the field. The
guy who missed that one the most? The guy the Eagles wanted badly, Marcus Williams. He was the back of that coverage, and he was nowhere near Tyreek. How do you not know where Tyreek Hill is on that play,
it looked
Marcus?
like the corner dropped him in the coverage. It looked like the corner
passed him along, and the safety's supposed to be there. The safety had to be on the other side of the field because he couldn't even get close to getting in the picture before Tyreek Hill caught the ball.
That's the problem. You never know. Is it cover 2? Is it quarters? Is it cover 6? Cover 8? You don't know who's supposed, like, did the cornerback make a mistake by dropping the receiver? Did the safety make a mistake? You don't know. I mean, nobody knows. Nobody knows what the coverage was on the particular play. That's part of the issue. But same thing, you know, people say, the fan's going to say, how do you leave Tyreek Hill, the best player on the field, just by himself? That's what happens when you play zone coverage. But, you know, you go back, the reason everybody does this, you go back to early last year. This is a Patrick Mahomes rule. You know, remember when Patrick was struggling a little bit at the beginning of last season? Everybody was playing cover 2 on him. Everybody was forcing him to take the stuff underneath. Everybody was trying to prevent the big plays. And it took them a while to, you know, you got to be disciplined.
Right.
For veteran quarterbacks, it's not that difficult, to be honest. And it's funny because I shouldn't do this, but I got, you know, I don't have an Eagles game. I need a Sunday game to cover because I get into it with fans. And, you know, I can't stand the mentality of the scheme stinks, the scheme stinks, the scheme stinks, the scheme stinks. And they're talking about other stuff. They're talking about personnel. They're talking about teaching. They're talking about blown coverages. They're talking about stuff. You know, the scheme is great. And the scheme is super aggressive when you have Khalil Mack and Akeem Hicks and players that can't block. Go back and watch that Chicago defense. That's where it all started and got Vic a head coaching job. Go back and watch that defense, and it looks tremendously aggressive. Why does it look aggressive? Because you couldn't block those 2 guys. Simple as that. They're playing the same coverages, but if you don't have those guys up front and you're rushing 4 that people can't block, you look like a dope. Here's my problem with the scheme, and I think people don't realize, I can't stand this scheme for that exact reason. Well, it's the same thing I say with Deebo Samuel. When we went through the offseason, I want Deebo Samuel. I want Deebo Samuel. No, you don't, because Kyle Shanahan isn't coming with him, and your dumb head coach isn't going to be able to take advantage of Deebo Samuel. They're going to try to turn him into Tyreek Hill. So I always want the cat that everybody's copying. I don't want the copycat. And everybody's a copycat. And Jonathan Gannon, everybody, Johnny Mac defends Jonathan Gannon. I'm going to look at you, Jody Mac, right now. I hate this scheme, but I hate this scheme because the Eagles don't have Khalil Mack,
right?
And don't have Akeem Hicks and his prime. That's why I hate this scheme.
So if you're smart enough to know this, why isn't Jonathan Gannon? Why aren't other defensive coordinators? This scheme can be great. Vic Fangio proved it can be great if you have star players in it. But if you don't have star players in it, do you just try and pound the square peg into the round hole?
I would say no.
Over and over and over again?
I would say no. But, you know, everybody, 12 teams is what I counted. And that could be up. It's probably more that I know that use this scheme. 12 of 32 teams in the NFL use the same damn scheme. The two teams tonight use the same damn scheme. Now, Minnesota looked great against Aaron Rodgers in week 1 because they have Danielle Hunter and Zadarius Smith. Now, they're not quite what Mack and Hicks were in their prime, but they're really, really good players. Now, the Eagles have great tackles, so that's going to be probably the most interesting matchup of the night because you saw Aiden Hutchinson yesterday. Aiden Hutchinson couldn't get off a Lane Johnson block to save his life. In week 2, he's getting 3 sacks. So, the Eagles are well equipped to handle at least players of that ilk, and we'll see how it shakes out. Hassan Reddick, look, they paid him $15 million. He's the best pass rusher they've had in a long time. But he ain't Khalil Mack. He ain't Defensive Player of the Year Khalil Mack talent level. There's a big difference. There's a big drop-off. And nobody knows Akeem Hicks. I don't know why, because in his prime, he was just unblockable. Now he's had a lot of injuries. He's in Tampa Bay now. You still can't block him.
Oh, by the way, fitting in quite nicely with the Buccaneers.
Well, you still can't block him. The problem is he's going to get hurt. He's only going to play 7-8 games. But when he's out there, you still can't block him. Fletcher Cox was like that early in his career. He's not like that now. Javon Hargrave isn't like that. So, yeah, I don't like it. I get the mentality of, and then you have this over evaluation of your own talent. Like I had some guys, well, the Eagles should play press coverage. First of all, if candy and butts, if candy and nuts were its and butts type of thing, you spend all time practicing.
Whoa. Practicing?
Well,
you sure?
I know you were going to go
sure about that?
I know you were going to go down that route, Jody, but in all seriousness, they do one thing of the whole off season, all summer, scrap it after week 1. Come on. Use some common sense.
I see where you're going. Okay.
Yeah. Use some common sense.
Oh my God. We need to change our entire philosophy in our defense
in 1
on
week.
A dime.
Yeah. It's absurd. So, but then the other part of that is they don't have corners. They have one corner to play press coverage consistently that can do it, and that's Darius Slay. They have one. James Bradbury's a great zone corner. That's why he's here. They play a lot of zone. Avonte Maddox, he's okay. He's not a great press coverage player, but he could stand up. Yeah, but they only have one great press coverage.
Let me ask you this: if that's the case, if the Eagles are a team that you say don't have enough talent at the cornerback position to play press coverage, who does?
Nobody.
Then how do you express?
Why do you think the whole league?
Do you express surprise that the entire league is playing the Fangio zone defense? If there aren't good enough corners in the league to play press, well, then of course everybody's going to play zone.
Well, and part of it is also the rules. I mean, they're hamstrung from a defensive standpoint. You're not allowed to touch guys, illegal touch. The more press you play, then you have all these quarterbacks. Like if you play press coverage against Jalen Hurts, your ass going to get beat. They're just going to turn their backs on Jalen Hurts, and he's going to run up their backs for 30 yards. So a lot of these mobile quarterbacks limit what you can do from a man coverage standpoint. If you don't play a lot of zone against Jalen Hurts, you're a dope. I mean, you're an absolute dope as a defensive. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. I mean, you have to play zone against those types of players. That factors into it. So a lot of things factor into it. But what also comes into play is when you have, and so many young corners, you saw it with Baltimore because they had some issues, you're going to have blown coverages all over the place. And you saw it, you mentioned Jefferson with Green Bay. All over the place early in the season, you're going to have blown coverage after blown coverage. You'll see it tonight. There's going to be blown coverages on both sides because both sides use zone. You're going to see Justin Jefferson running free, and Eagles fans are going to lose their mind. You're going to see A.J. Brown running free, and Vikings fans are going to lose their mind. It's so predictable, but it's where we are in the NFL.
All right, so I got to ask you this, Johnny Mac, and I see our buddy Special Ed Kracz
Game Day Kracz
ready to roll. If the Eagles don't have the corners to play press coverage and you hate the Vic Fangio defense that they're playing right now, what and we readily acknowledge they couldn't change on a dime. But if you had all preseason to get ready, actual practice in preseason, novel idea. If you were advising Jonathan Gannon, what kind of secondary defense would you like to see the Eagles play?
Well, I would like to mix in more. I would like to be more multiple on the back end. Like they're multiple. That we're so multiple up front. Multiple. That's all they talk about. 4-man front, 5-man front, 30 front. They use all these different fronts. Why can't they use different stuff on the back end? It's just quarters, cover 2, some cover 8. It's all, they could be more varied. But that's where we are. It's a bigger problem. That's where we are in the modern NFL, Jody. I'd like to go back to where we were 20 years ago when the defense was allowed to do more things, but I can't do that. So
right, you got to play within the rules of 2022.
Yeah. But so the answer is I'm not the innovator. I'm not Big Fangio. But what I don't want is all the guys to get in line and follow the leader. I want a guy who has his own ideas and comes up with the next thing. What's the next thing? I don't know. It was once cover 2. It was once cover 3 with Seattle. It was once Mike Zimmer with the A gaps and all that crap. And now it's a Big Fangio. I want those guys. At least you have like 2 years of everybody trying to catch up.
All right. But whatever that next defense is, somebody's going to play it. Somebody's going to have success with it. And then by the following year, 14 teams are going to play.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's just the way it is.
That's what
and
I
that's
said.
not new.
Years,
that's been going on in sports for 50 years, that somebody had success and everyone else will follow thereafter.
You're right, but
do it as well. They don't have the talent as much. But that's a concept that hadn't changed in a half a century.
But you have 2 years before everybody catches up. You have 2 years, and then, at least you're ahead of the curve. The Eagles pride themselves on being ahead of the curve. We're ahead of the curve. We went outside the margins. Well, go get coaches that are ahead of the curve.
You got a legit complaint there. All right, John McMullen, Jody McDonald. It's a game day. Yes, the Eagles have Monday Night Football action tonight down at the Link. Johnny Mack will be down there for about a day and a half, as will his partner in crime for Sports Illustrated, Ed Kracz, who's going to join us next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community. A sports roundup for the locals. And the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pondley Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pondley Hockey a call.
got your Mega Mac guys here with you on Birds 365. Joining us now, you can call him Special Ed, or you can call him Special K.
Ed. That's a show.
Or you can call him what we do on a day like this, Game Day Kracz. Ed Kracz joins us here on Birds 365. You ready for some football, Mr. Kracz? You look like you're just rising and shining.
Well, I am just rising and shining. Trying to get some rest before tonight's marathon at into the wee hours of the morning. These Monday night games, and I was up watching a lot of football yesterday. So, I had my share of football. I do not like Monday night games. You have to sit around all day and wait, and you're the last game on the docket. I know there's 2 games tonight, right?
Yeah.
1 7.
Yeah. You think they could have staggered them, Ed? East Coast, West Coast. You think they could have given us the earlier game?
Yeah.
The NFL is, ugh.
Well, I think this game is probably the most appealing on the docket, in my opinion, this Vikings-Eagles matchup. There's some good games yesterday, obviously. But,
Were there?
Well, some games that came down to the very end.
Rush, baby.
That Cardinals-Raiders game was pretty good, and Jets and the Browns. Your Jets, Jody.
The Jets got it handed to
Joe
them.
Blacko, baby.
Three letters, T-U-A. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, Tua had an unbelievable game. I mean, it was a good slate of game. I mean, good outcomes anyway, exciting finishes. But this Eagles matchup, I think these are 2 of the best. This Eagles Vikings, I think it's two of the best teams. I think in the top 6 teams maybe in the NFC. I think Eagles and Vikings. At least as we sit here in on middle of September. So it'll be a good matchup. It's just going to be a late matchup, and that's not like Monday night games.
It's not a reporter alive that likes Monday Night Football.
And even fans, I think it's a late night for fans. They have to get up and work in theory in the morning.
Well, they like getting ready for the game, but then you actually have to play the game, and it doesn't finish till late. You got to get up the next morning and go, why the hell was I so excited at 5 o'clock when I was sitting in the parking lot with a beer in my hand?
5 o'clock. Try 10 o'clock this morning. I think there's some people.
Yeah, I was on Twitter. There were a bunch of people. There were a bunch of people already barbecuing, getting ready. So everybody's going to be liquored up. That's the environment the Vikings are coming into. Detroit, the Detroit Lions, all of a sudden, hey, that win that everybody described as a loss, looking a little bit better. The Detroit Lions might be more explosive than we think. Does that make you feel better about the Eagles' Week 1 performance, Ed Kracz?
I didn't feel terrible about it as it was. I mean, the Eagles just kind of ran out of gas. The Lions put together some long drives in the second half. Fatigue was a factor. I've told people that was probably the second loudest environment I've ever been in outside that NFC Championship game when the Eagles and Vikings played here in 2017 season. I mean, that was so loud, and that ceiling's low. And I talked to some guys in the locker room this week about that environment, and they said it was just really stuffy in there. They couldn't feel a lot of air movement. It was really loud for them as well, and it was a grind. So I felt pretty good about it. And then they come out and smack the Commanders yesterday, and Aiden Hutchinson goes off with 3 sacks. Charles Harris, or is that his name? Charles, the other guy. He comes out, he gets a sack. I mean, they sacked Wentz several times. So when you look at the Eagles' offensive line and Jalen Hurts, of course, the way he was able to make guys miss with his legs back there, and Jason Kelce said it, we don't win that game without Jalen Hurts. And when you look at what he did against the Lions by avoiding some of that pressure, and then when you have Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson blocking on the outside against those 2 pass rushers, I mean they held up really well. So I think you look at that win now, and it's probably a little bit better in some people's eyes, but I thought it was a pretty good win, regardless of what happened with the Commanders and the Lions yesterday.
All right, Ed, you just proclaimed that the Eagles ran out of gas in the second half, which, by the way, I agree with you. I think they look like the more tired team in the second half of that Lions game. I have my own personal belief as to why they're tired. Maybe they didn't do enough work leading up to the first game of the season. They get enough work in this week, So fatigue won't be a factor in the second half of tonight's game against the Vikings?
Listen, I don't think you get in football shape without doing football things. And, I'm sure you're thinking the same as mine, that they didn't do enough football things in training camp and in summer. I mean, you can run all the gassers and 100-yard sprints you want, but unless you're actually blocking and tackling and pushing and pulling and running, and I mean, you're not going to get into football shape without doing that stuff. And they just didn't do enough of it. And they probably didn't do enough of it this week. So, yeah, I think there could be an element of some fatigue. Now, listen, to prevent that, it should be a cooler night, I guess. I mean, it's supposed to be pretty hot during the day, but it's a nighttime game.
Yeah, you got a good point. It'll be over by 2 a.m, so it'll at least be somewhat cool.
A little chilled off, yes.
Yeah, so I think the environment should be better. With the weather, it certainly wasn't the case in Detroit. I think they probably had that air conditioner turned off or set at about 80 degrees before it kicked on, and that's going back to the Red Auerbach days and the Boston Celtics when they used to have the visitors' locker rooms with cold water and no towels and all that other stuff to gain the edge. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Lions did the same thing in that game. But yeah, the Eagles, I don't think they'll be in any better shape, but I think if they can prevent long drives, I think the long drives that Detroit went on kind of wore them down a little bit. They were on the field a lot. They couldn't get off the field on third down. They allowed 7 of 8 conversions in the second half third down.
Yeah.
So, they were tired, but they can control that by doing a better job on third down and getting off the field. And then I think with the weather, probably going to be cooler in the wee hours. That should help them too.
I have an esoteric question for you, Ed. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. I think they're going to win this game because they're the best running team in the NFL, and the Vikings don't handle the run game well defensively. I think you're going to see 200 plus on the ground again. And I think you're going to see a bunch of unhappy people. Are we all turning into Jeffrey Lurie, asking questions about how you win the game after you win the game?
I think fans are all on board with running the ball, right? I mean, at least they were, they're always calling for Nick Sirianni or whoever was the coach to run the ball more. Now you're getting that. And, now people might be unhappy with it because they want to throw the ball. So, yeah, you can't make everybody happy. But it's a pretty bold prediction there, John, with over 200 yards rushing. I mean, because
they always get over 200 yards. It's not that bold anymore.
Well, I mean, Jalen Hurts gets a lot of it. And
that's my point. Jalen's going to get 70 to 100 of it. So all you need is 100 to 130 from the backs. And Jalen's presence makes things easier for the backs. 200 yards is like, it's like it used to be this big thing. And now you're like, the Eagles got 200 yards on the ground. That makes sense.
But the Vikings, they play a lot of zone, so they're not going to. Those defenders aren't going to be, running with their backs to Hurts and allowing him to pick up those big jumps.
Said.
They're going to be kind of
Jody that. Now the Lions did that, so you have a point. The Lions blitzed, I think, the second most in week 1, and they played, I believe, the most man coverage in the NFL in week 1, which was still under 50%, but it's as high as he gets. So that's probably will make it a little bit more difficult for Jalen.
Yep.
But I don't think the presence, his ability to open up lanes for Miles Sanders, Kenny Gainwell, Boston Scott, I don't think that changes. I think people are so freaked out about Jalen's ability to run the football. It makes it easier for everybody else. And then on the other side, the Vikings just don't stop the run. So why are they going to stop it against the best running team? That would be my thought process.
Yeah. Well, I would take the under on 200 yards rushing just because I don't think Hurts is going to have that 70-yard to a 90-yard game. But if they get over 200, I think Sanders has to go over 100. I think he's got to get 100 to 120 of those yards himself. And, can he do that? He had a very good season debut. But, can he run for over 100? We'll see. They do have a defense that can be run on, but I think you have to do it with Sanders, Gainwell, and Scott. And I'm not sure Hurts is going to be that successful or as successful running the ball as he was against the Lions, just based on that zone defense, being able to watch him whenever he's in the pocket.
All right, Ed, the Eagles gave up 35 points week 1 against the Lions, and the defensive effort was just not good. One of the guys who, when the game's over and done with, you look and go, wait, did he even play? Was Hassan Reddick, the defensive end that they paid good money to come in here and put pressure on the quarterback. He made one play in the game, and it was on a running play, a tackle for loss on the running play. Other than that, he was almost non-existent. Shame on him. Shame on Jonathan Gannon and his scheme. Give a little credit to the Lions. Johnny Mack told us leading up all week, don't look past this Lions offensive line. They're one of the better ones in the NFL. And I think they proved that to us last week. Well, the Vikings have good tackles as well. How is Hassan Reddick going to be different this week than he was last week?
Well, listen, you could say that about a few guys that were invisible, right? It wasn't just Hassan Reddick. Fletcher Cox really didn't do much. Brandon Graham didn't do a lot. But, yeah, Reddick was the guy they brought in here to be, to increase their sack total. 23.5 of those the last 2 years, top 5 in the league over that span. But, I had a chance to talk to Reddick in the locker room this week for, a good 7-8 minutes. And, he kind of, and I wrote about it, but he kind of alluded to the fact that he was pretty hyped up to play his first game in an Eagles uniform. The team that he grew up right across the river from in Camden watching play. He said he had a hard time settling down in that game. And maybe that was part of it. He didn't want to make an excuse. He's not coming out and saying that, he wouldn't admit to that, but that's kind of what he alluded to, that he was pretty fired up and hyped up, and maybe too hyped up and too pumped up, and maybe tried to do a little bit too much and ended up doing nothing. Now the question is going to be, can he contain those emotions on a Monday night football game in his first home game in an Eagles uniform in front of fans and such? And I asked him, well, how do you control that being in front of the home crowd that, will have some friends and family in it? And he said, I'm not even taking ticket requests. I'm not doing ticket counts, anything like that. I'm going to focus on just the game. I feel more settled down, and he feels like he'll be ready to play. So, maybe that was part of it. But to me, he looked a little slow. Maybe he was a little out of shape because of the summer of really not, doing a whole lot. But to me, that's kind of how he looked. He looked a little tired, a little slow. And maybe that's because he was thinking a little too much or whatever. But I expect a better game from him. And let's face it, this Eagles pass rush, this to me is the key to the game. Is they have to be able to put pressure on Kirk Cousins, because you don't want him to sit back there, and that's what he's going to do. He's not going to move around a lot, so he's going to be there, but you don't want him to sit back there for 4 or 5 seconds and wait for a receiver to open, because you can't cover Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, maybe not even Irv Smith, the tight end, for 5-6 seconds. You have to impact Cousins' time to throw the ball, and that'll make it easier for Slay and Bradbury and Kaiser White, Marcus Epps, some of these other guys are going to be in coverage to, at least stick to their guys for a half a second less than, you're not getting, for less time if you're getting a pass rush. And so Reddick really has to come to play, but so does everybody on that defensive line.
Yeah, you're right. You got to speed Kirk Cousins up.
Yeah.
I mean, he's tremendously accurate. If you give him time to set his speed, throw the football, it can get ugly pretty quickly. But I want to, go back to Jalen Hurts and Jalen Hurts throwing the football, because you're right, Ed. I mean, the Vikings play the same scheme as the Eagles. So all Eagles fans who hate the scheme, take a look at the other side as well. They played more zone than the Eagles. I think they were second in the NFL in week 1. They were successful against maybe the best quarterback in football, Aaron Rodgers. And, Detroit, as we mentioned, played more man than anybody else in the NFL. So if they can't run the football as well as they did in Detroit, and Jalen Hurts is forced to throw the football against those zone looks with 7, sometimes 8 people in coverage, can he do it? Can he do it? I mean, that's when interceptions pop up. That's when you got to be accurate. We just talked about, Kirk Cousins is going to be accurate. So if you give him time to throw the football, he's going to put the football where it needs to be. Do we know if Jalen Hurts can do that?
Well, I mean, it's something that he struggled with in the past, right? Was playing against zone defenses. So we'll see now. Everybody's talked about his comfortability and, second year in the offense, same offense. His offseason work to get better at throwing the football. So we'll find out. This will be a good test for him to do that. I really think he needs to get the ball out quickly, and we saw him try to do that in training camp with a lot of the shorter stuff. They worked a lot of short type patterns. They didn't go deep a whole lot. And I don't think the Vikings are going to give you that deep shot very often. So they're going to have to complete some throws on a consistent basis to be able to move the football. And I believe in Jalen Hurts. Let's face it. I do believe, he is a very good quarterback. And I think he will be able to make enough throws to keep this team kind of on pace with whatever the Vikings are going to score. Because I think it's going to be a pretty high-scoring game. I think the Vikings are going to put up points, and I think the Eagles are going to have to match that. So Hurts is going to have to come with his A game and be able to do that. And, Devontae Smith, obviously, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to get him going after 0 catches last week with some quick throws, some slants, some out patterns. But I'd like to see Hurts test the middle of the field a little bit more too, with Dallas Goedert. Dallas had 3 catches in Detroit. They were all, kind of outside throws, screen throws outside. That has to happen too for Jalen Hurts. So, yeah, he's got to throw consistently against his zone, prove that he can do that. And I'd like to see him throw over the middle a little bit more too.
Will part of that Eagle offense tonight, and it wasn't all that prevalent in week 1, be backs out of the backfield? If the Vikings are going to sit in the zone and prevent them from going over the top the same way Detroit did last week. Did Quez Watkins play? Oh, no, that's right. He returned kicks, but he didn't play from the line. Oh, he
shouldn't even be doing that, by the way.
Yeah,
but that's another story.
That's another story. Miles out of the backfield, Gainwell out of the backfield. How big a part of the Eagle offense do you think that is tonight, throwing to the backs?
Well, if they get pressure, and I'm surprised the Eagles didn't do that more last week. I mean, they didn't throw to the backs a whole lot. I think Miles Sanders had 1 catch. Maybe Gainwell had a target or 2, but yeah, I don't know. I think the Eagles look at it like, we can pick up more yards with Jalen running the ball than we can throwing it to, Sanders or Gainwell 2 yards on the line of scrimmage. So I'm not sure they'll do that. If they didn't do it last week in Detroit when they were blitzing and bringing everybody to kind of, just throw it out into the flat, they just relied on Jalen to make a play. So I'd be surprised if they do that as much. They like Jalen running the ball more than they do like to throw it to the backs.
I'm going to give you 3 names. I think the answer is obvious, but it could go in a different direction. Jalen Reagor, Chandon Sullivan, Jordan Hicks, ex-Eagles coming back.
Yeah.
If someone haunts them, who's it going to be? Chandon Sullivan's the starting nickelback. Now, Jordan Hicks is the big name. Jalen Reagor on the punt return. Big revenge game. Who's it going to be, Ed Kracz?
Well, I think the obvious answer is Jordan Hicks, right? Because he's going to be on the field. He was on the field for, 97% of the Vikings snaps in week 1. So, Hicks was a great player here. A very good player in Philadelphia during his time. He got hurt a lot. He was a good guy in the locker room, easy guy to talk to, always drinking his kombucha tea or whatever that stuff was called.
Kombucha, yeah.
Kombucha.
Good stuff.
Always had a mug full of that in the locker room. But, he had 14 tackles last week, which is, crazy when you think about that. And he had a sack. I think he had a forced fumble, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, he had an
impact.
Always
a playmaker. Couldn't stay healthy here. He leaves here, and he's been healthy.
He led the Eagles in interceptions in 2018 with 5 of them. So, he's around the ball. So I would pick Hicks there. But, I wouldn't be surprised, too, if Kevin O'Connell comes in and has a little, small set of plays for Jalen Reagor. I think any coach should give a player who played for the team they're playing an opportunity to do something against them. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a small batch of plays, maybe throw the screen pass a little bit to him like the Eagles tried, or that jet sweep and see what he can do with it.
It works so well here.
Well, what if it works in Minnesota? I mean,
Please be right, Ed Kracz. Please tell me they're going to try and force feed Jalen Reagor the ball. that gives the Eagles a better chance to win. Please tell me you got a crystal ball reading on this one, and that's exactly the way it's going to happen.
Yeah, well, I wish I could do that, Jody. I don't think they're going to force feed him the ball. I think they might try to get him the ball, a time or two to see if he can maybe, catch lightning in a bottle with it. And, don't forget he had a 72-yard punt return for a touchdown his rookie year against Green Bay. He also had a lot of muffs and fumbles and stuff. Yeah. So, maybe if you look at Reagor.
Here's why I feel comfortable using the phrase force feed him the ball. You, me, and John McMullen all had the same number of scraps, same number of snaps from the line of scrimmage that Jalen Reagor did last week. 0. They didn't put him out there for one offensive snap.
Remember, Jody,
only thing was special teams.
Yeah. He just got there. So they're going to have the big.
I'm assuming the Vikings practice more than the Eagles this week, but Jalen Reagor completely up to speed this
week. Big package.
Are you projecting or predicting?
No.
20 snaps, 15 snaps,
no.
10 snaps, 5 snaps.
I'm putting
How many do you think he's going to play on offense? We had two Minnesota guys last week tell us that KJ Osborne is the unquestioned number 3, and Jalen Reagor's going to need to get beyond him.
I'm putting the over-under on 5, but here's where Ed could, everybody's paying attention to Justin Jefferson. You might have 3 people bracketing him, and all of a sudden you have Jalen Reagor on the other side. They try to just let him run past the defense, maybe a deep shot. Maybe Kevin O'Connell tries something like that. But, yeah, there's not going to be volume. There's not going to be volume for Jalen Reagor. No. But maybe he tries to get him a big play in a return to Philadelphia. He is a player's coach. But, yeah, Jordan Hicks is who I was getting at because he was such a good player here. And I think people forget the Super Bowl season, he was the leader of this defense. And he was one of the guys who got hurt towards Achilles, I believe it was that year.
Yep.
And the Eagles were able to persevere that. But he was their best linebacker. And he's been able to stay healthy since he left. And this is his first time coming back to Lincoln Financial Field. So it should be interesting. And he was, I think people forget him a little bit too much. He was a really good player here.
Yeah. And Shandon Sullivan, you mentioned him, but back to Hicks though. I remember he went on his honeymoon. He got married one off season and he fell by the pool. And
yeah. Got hurt. Yeah.
I mean, come on, it wasn't even football. It was on his honeymoon, hanging by the pool. He got hurt. Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at that.
We sure that wasn't a fight with a Cabana boy? Or is that another Eagle linebacker?
That was old Nigel. Nigel Bradham.
Nigel took over for Jordan. Yeah, people were concerned about that. Remember, people were concerned about Nigel taking over the green dot. And I believe Jim Schwartz said at the time, a tape recorder could do it. So.
Hey, but listen, don't diss out Nigel Bradham. I thought he was a huge underrated piece.
Oh, yeah, he was a good player.
That guy was tough, man. He was playing with all sorts of. He had an injury in his wrist. He wore a cast. I mean, that guy was
tough. Good guy too, even though he doesn't like
the cast as a weapon. I think kind of like Aaron Donald swinging a helmet.
On the Cabana Boy. Is that what he used on the Cabana Boy?
Might have been Ed, as a matter of fact.
You also can't take the firearms to the airport, Nigel. There were a lot of Jim Schwartz great quotes when it came to Nigel Bradham. Yeah. One of them was about that firearm to the airport. If you keep doing stupid stuff, people are going to start thinking you're stupid. That was a great Jim Schwartz quote.
All right, I need a guidance from both you guys here. If you got your Eagle crystal ball out, how much 12 personnel do you think they'll play tonight? Johnny Mac is leaning toward a lot of running of the football again, along the same lines as what they did last week, maybe even more against the Vikings. Does that lend itself to 12 personnel? Last week, you got nothing out of Devontae Smith, nothing out of Quez Watkins. It was the A.J. Brown show. Do they go more 12 personnel this week and basically tell the Vikings, we're going to run it down your throats. Now try and stop us?
I thought they played a lot of 12 in Detroit. I mean, Jack Stoll was on the field a lot. I think he had, 45 of the offensive snaps. He played a lot of special teams. He was a big underrated part of the, of the team last week. I thought just in the volume of snaps that he played. But yeah, I think they'll go 12 personnel. I think they like the way Jack Stoll blocks on the edge. They elevated Noah Tungiai last week and sat down Grant Calcaterra. Again, I think it was more for a blocking move. Calcaterra is still learning how to do that. Tungiai probably does it a little bit better. I mean, he even had a target, Tungiai, and he dropped it. So, but I think they'll play 12 personnel, and they don't always necessarily run out of 12 personnel either. So, I think they like that formation, and I do think they'll use it a bit tonight.
Yeah, I think they want to be an 11 personnel team, and obviously, from the time Nick Sirianni got here, that's what they want to do. But I think they're a better 12 personnel team, to be honest. I think they still are. The one issue is, the one guy a little bit banged up this week was Jack Stoll, who was dealing with a little bit of an ankle injury. So maybe that affects things as well. So that could shift things. But I do think Zach Pascal changes things a little bit and then allows them to use more 11 because he can be a blocker, a different type of blocker, but he can do it very well as the third receiver on the field. And that's what Nick Sirianni wants to do. So, I mean, as long as you're winning football games, I don't think that changes until you start to struggle a little bit. Quez Watkins, though, I don't see it. What am I missing with Quez Watkins? I think Zach Pascal's the third best receiver on this team.
John, if you're not careful, he's going to start following you again with all these words about Zach Pascal.
Well, that's Jody's fault. I shouldn't have been blocked, Zach Pascal. That's Jody's fault.
Oh, God, blame me. I had no problems taking the blame for that one.
Yeah, well, I like Zach Pascal a lot, and he does follow me. So, but I think he's a good receiver. I do think he's a good receiver. He had a big catch on a third down throw. He got behind it was a linebacker or slot corner, I can't remember, in Detroit. But yeah, I do like Pascal. Quez is kind of the odd man out right now. He's returning kicks, and Sirianni likes him, I think, as a kick returner.
Yeah, I don't get that either.
I don't either.
Seen no evidence that he could be now he'll go and return one for 95 yards tonight, and Eagles fans can thank me, but I have not seen any evidence that he's a kick returners. You got to go fast and you got to hit that hole immediately. And I see too much dancing around with Quez Watkins.
Goes to the outside right away. But listen, AJ Brown can get slots in the snaps in the slot. They move him into the slot with motion. So, that kind of takes away some of Quez's opportunities. But you mentioned Chandon Sullivan. He's your slot guy. And I think, listen,
that's a big advantage for the Eagles.
That's an advantage Eagles. So, whoever's lined up in the slot tonight could have a decent game, and maybe it will be Quez. Maybe it'll be Pascal. Maybe Brown will motion down into the slot, but
maybe Devontae.
And Devontae, you have to. That's a matchup you have to exploit. And then even Patrick Peterson on the outside. He's not the Patrick Peterson that came into this league, 10 years ago, whenever it was. A little bit slower now, so that's another mismatch that you're going to have to exploit. And maybe that will be Devontae on the outside, and maybe Brown's coming out of the slot, or Quez. But yeah, I mean, listen, Quez caught 40 passes last year, something like that, over 600 yards. Yeah. But listen, the volume, I just don't see that happening this year, because they have, and Sirianni will tell you, they have to go to Goddard, Smith, and Brown. Those are the three players that the offense runs through, and that just leaves scraps for guys like Watkins and Pascal.
All right, Eddie K, I need you on the record. The best stat I saw about the Eagles this week, no great surprise, comes from our buddy Ruben Frank, who had this one. Jalen Hurts last week, as the Eagles starting quarterback, for the third time in his career, oversaw an Eagle game in which they scored 38 points with 0 touchdown passes. No other quarterback in the history of the National Football League. And this guy's only been a starter for 1 year and 1 game, and a couple of years before with Carson going by the wayside. But no other NFL quarterback ever has been part of a game in which a team scored 38 points and threw no touchdown passes and Jalen's done it 3 times. Will we see it again, Ed Kracz?
How many of those
scored 38 points without a touchdown pass?
How many of those games have they won, though? I wonder. Like, I think
all of them.
Oh, really? Didn't he score over 38 against the Chiefs? Maybe not. I thought they had a lot of points against the Chiefs, but maybe not. So, so he's 3-0. I don't
cares how you score.
I know. I don't think they'll go over 38. I don't.
Not getting 38 tonight.
And I think Jalen Hurts needs to throw some touchdown passes. I mean, you don't want to go through week 2 with 0 touchdown passes on your statistical sheet. So yeah, I think he's going to make some touchdown passes tonight. And I don't think they'll score 38 points, but I think Jalen Hurts will throw, I'm going to say 2 touchdowns tonight.
Who's catching them? Who's getting the 2 touchdown passes?
I think Goddard will get one, and I think Smith gets one.
Oh, we got to get AJ in the end zone.
Yeah, I think AJ's going to have to wait. I mean, he had his 10 catches last week, and I don't think we'll see that again this season where he has 10 catches, but maybe. Yeah, I think Smith and Goddard are the touchdown makers in the air tonight.
The 2 others that Jalen did it was Detroit last year, so he did it against Detroit twice.
Nice.
And the Saints last year, which, they won all 3 games.
Okay.
So it's just a weird kind of stat. I'm with you. I think he'll probably throw one, even though I don't think the Eagles will get 38 points. So your final score tonight, Ed Kracz, is?
Well, I have, the over-under is 50, right? I have it going over. I have the Vikings winning a very entertaining back-and-forth game. I have the Vikings winning 30-27. I just think that they'll make some plays.
So, blame Ed Kracz. I got the Eagles winning. winning.
Yeah, all right.
The Eagles haven't won a Week 2 game since 2016. That's a trend that's hard to overlook. Even their Super Bowl season, they lost to Kansas City in Week 2 and then ran off 9 in a row. But I just think that, they lost their home opener last year to the 49ers, and everybody says, it's going to be a great advantage to have that crowd rooting for you. But listen, that crowd goes hot and cold. They can turn on you.
Yeah, they can turn quick. They can turn quick.
Yeah. So
especially with Jonathan Gannon, they do not like him.
Yeah. I've been to too many games down at the Link where they get booed off the field at halftime. So they have to keep that crowd in their corner. And the crowd, I will say, is a big help for the defense. I think they need to make it rough for Kirk Cousins to communicate whatever the play is, whatever the blocking protections are. And I think the defensive line does feed off of the crowd noise. So it can be a benefit for the defense. But I just think this Vikings offense right now is kind of rolling. They're coming in with confidence, having beaten the Packers, and it's going to be a tough out for the Eagles to win this game.
I foresee the crowd only turning on Ed Kracz when the Eagles find a way to win.
Hopefully you get in the building, Ed, before.
I'll be there. I'll be there. Yeah. You can certainly
keep a low profile. Hide behind McMullen on the food line. You'll probably be okay. Yeah. Eddie, good stuff. Always a pleasure, bud. We'll get you back on again next week. Thanks for jumping in with us today.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ed.
Ed Game Day Kracz here with us on Birds 365. Did you give your official score of tonight's game yet? I don't know if you have or had.
I have not. We're saving it for the end of the show.
I will save it for the end of the show.
I have the Eagles winning
Ed
the football
Kracz
game.
Picking the Vikings. Yesterday on WIP, Glenn Macnow picking the Vikings.
I'm right there. I know I'm right now. No, I'm joking, Glenn.
I'm not guaranteeing. I'm not locking it up because I kind of locked it up week 1 against the Lions. I'm not doing that this week, but I'm certainly leaning in a green direction. All right, John McMullen, Jody McDonald coming back. We got more to preview in tonight's game, and we got a good guest plan for hour number 2 as well. The voice of the Philadelphia Eagles in Espanol, Ricky Ricardo, scheduled to join us about 20 minutes from now here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
The greatest fans on earth. It's a bold statement, but would you expect anything less from Philadelphia? 58 years of heartache creates a toughness, a grit, a resolve not found in most. Sure, our prayers were answered, but now that we've had a taste, we're looking for more. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Action News at 11 with Rick Williams. It's the team you trust to bring it all together. The stories that impact your community. A sports roundup for the locals. And the AccuWeather forecast you depend on. Action News at 11 with Rick Williams.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Oh, and go Birds.
Welcome to Pondley Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pondley Hockey a call.
John McMullen and Jody McDonald, your Mac and Mac Birds 365 guys here as we lead up to an Eagle Monday night affair against the Vikings down at Lincoln Financial Field. Should be a good one. I think it's going to be a competitive game. Should be fun. Should hang in the balance. John McMullen not sneaking out early because it's a blowout. No. This one could very well go down to the wire like last week's game against the Lions did. Johnny Mac, two more trends heading into tonight's game. They kind of go in conflict with each other, so I'm going to ask you which you believe is more on point tonight. Kirk Cousins, 9 career starts against the Philadelphia Eagles, is 6-3. Some with the Commanders / football team / Redskins. He won some games with Washington and has also won as the quarterback of the Vikings. 6-3 lifetime against the Eagles. However,
Monday night, you give me Monday night.
Kirk Cousins prime time, not so good. Below 5, well below. I think he's 8-6.
I think he's 2-9 on Monday night.
Right. And he had lost his first 9. He actually won his last 2 Monday nights. So he's trending in the right direction there, but he's beaten 2 bad Bear teams, both of the last 2 times he played on Monday night. He has not been a good primetime quarterback, whether it's Monday, Sunday, and or Thursday night. Which stat is more prevalent tonight? The fact that Kirk Cousins has had success against the Eagles, or that Kirk Cousins seems to be a little choker when he's under the league lights of primetime football?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of been a self-fulfilling prophecy. A lot of, I can't talk. Early in his career, I think he was just bad on Monday nights. Recently, it's been the Vikings offense has been really good. The defense has been really bad. You mentioned the 2 wins over bad Chicago teams. I remember he had a couple losses, at least one loss against a good Chicago defense that wasn't his fault. Let's put it that way. So it kind of works both ways. We always put too much on the quarterback, but I do think it kind of sneaks in your back of your mind when you have a lack of success, and he hears about it constantly. Our buddy Paul Domowitch, I've been talking about this since we started this show. He might be the toughest guy in the NFL to Judge as a quarterback. His numbers are so good. I mean, they're absurd. And for a long, consistent period of time, but then you use the eye test, and I know analytics people hate the eye test, and he said, well, he's just not that good. But Damo, our buddy Paul Domowitz, put up his stats package this week, and check it out at JAKIBsports.com. He's got some, cousin statistics that, open your eyes. Since he became a full-time starter in 2015, he has a 101 passer rating. 101 pass, even in this era, that's good. Over that time frame, plus 135 when it comes to touchdowns interception ratio. Plus 135. 67.8 completion percentage. 7.8 yards per attempt. That means he gets the football down the field as well. 1.2 interception percentage. Second best in the entire NFL behind only Aaron Rodgers, who doesn't throw interceptions. He's at 0.8. 0.8 to 1.2. This is the weirdest quarterback maybe in the history of football. He can kill you. And he also has never had, he's got great statistical success, but he's never had great team success.
Right.
If you got an explanation for it, I'd like to hear it, because
here's
I don't
the
have
analytic that wills out over all others for me. For his entire career, he's 60-59. Games that he started, his team started, they've had good defenses, they've had bad defenses. He's had massive
Mostly bad. That's my point. Mostly bad. Minnesota had a good defense before he got there. And when they got there, they kind of fell apart. Now, they weren't.
Maybe that's in part because they had to blatantly overpay Kirk Cousins because of those gaudy numbers that Paul Domowitz just put out there? He gets paid as if he's supposed to be that good.
That's certainly part of it. It's ironic that, when the Vikings made the championship game and lost to the Eagles, which obviously everybody remembers, Case Keenum was the quarterback.
Right. That wasn't Kirk Cousins.
No. And you're right. They had the great defense. They came in. They were the number one ranked defense in the NFL that year, even though they got waxed here in Philadelphia. And you're right. I mean, that happens. We saw it in Seattle. Seattle was winning Super Bowl, should have won a second one, where a yard away if Russell doesn't make the big mistake. But either or, really good team. And then when they had to pay Russell, all of a sudden the defense starts to slip. So this is what we're going to be in next year.
Yeah,
it's great to pay Jalen Hurts $2 million for his production. That's phenomenal. But if you got to pay him, you're already complaining about the defense, most Eagles fans. Well, imagine if you got to pay a quarterback Kirk Cousins money. What happens then?
Well, they got one more year on a less expensive deal. He'll be on the fourth year of his contract. They'll renew it. They'll spread some money around. So he's going to make more, but he's not going to be into that count 30+ million against the cap range next year. So these next 2 years are going to be pretty damn important for the Eagles if they want to go back to another Super Bowl.
Yeah. And then getting back to your original point with Kirk, he's a really good, and I described this. So I've come to that. He's just a really good thrower of the football. He's a really good passer. He's a high volume thrower. If you allow him time to throw the football, he's going to gash you. So it is very important for the Eagles to get a significant pass rush and make him not necessarily sack him, but make him speed up, make him throw the football before he wants to throw the football. Because if he gets his feet set and he can throw from the pocket, a clean pocket, he's gonna complete passes.
Do you have faith the Eagles are going to be able to do that tonight? Do you see a much improved pass rush out of the Eagles against the Vikings?
I think it'll be better than last week. I don't think they're going to do much against the Vikings tackles. Brian O'Neill is Nick Sirianni said again on Saturday that Lane Johnson is the best right tackle in the world, and he thinks nobody else is particularly close. I kind of agree with that. But Brian O'Neill's in the conversation for number 2. That's how good he is. Christian Darrisaw's a lot like Penei Sewell. Very young player, but really talented. I mean, really talented. And he looks like he's going to be a star player for a long time. Inside, though, I keep talking about Garrett Bradbury, man. You got to take advantage of Garrett Bradbury. He might be the worst starting center in football. He can't block it. Now, he's okay as a run blocker because he's very athletic. Everybody said, hey, he's the next Jason Kelce. And he is, from that standpoint, tremendously athletic. But he can't anchor anybody. I mean, I talked about Akeem Hicks. Akeem Hicks throws him around like a rag doll when he would play him. Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Jordan Davis, they got to take advantage of Garrett Bradbury.
All right, week 1, Lions did what they did against the Eagles. They ran the ball very effectively. Made DeAndre Swift look like a Pro Bowl running back. We all know the Eagles didn't tackle well. Well, they missed tackles across all 3 levels. Defensive tackle, linebacker, and safety. Which concerns you the most coming into tonight? If there's going to be a repeat, that there isn't an upgrade and a better performance out of either the D-line, the linebackers, and or the back 4, which one scares you most coming into tonight's game? Because that Dalvin Cook guy could absolutely reproduce what Swift did last week.
He's really good, Dalvin Cook, and he can beat you multiple ways. He's explosive. He's much more explosive than DeAndre Swift when it comes to sort of home runs and things like that. But he also is a physical runner, really physical runner. So he goes between the tackles as well. I'm concerned. I've said it on the show. I said it last week. I'm concerned with Kaiser White and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and run support. Those are the 2 guys I'm most concerned with. So it's a combination, second level, third level. I don't know if those guys can hold up and run support. And I got to see it. And this is not the back those guys are going to be able to take on in the open field and bring down. Now, you're not always going to see that type of back. But the Eagles also know, and this is where I talk about people don't pay enough attention to situations. So the Eagles know how bad they were against the run, and they know they're facing a better running back. So for a lack of a better term, they're going to overcorrect, and they might have heavier boxes. They might put more to support of the run than they probably should to try to corral depth. So I think it's going to look better, but I think they're going to have to give more effort to do it. So that leaves you susceptible to Jefferson and Thielen and Osborne. Probably not Reagor, but so we'll see how it shakes out. It's sort of a give and take. I think they're going to overcorrect when it comes to stopping the run.
Well, one thing I would suggest won't be an overcorrection would be more than 22 snaps for Jordan Davis. That's a suggestion, Coach Gannon. If you're listening, yeah, I would get him on the field.
Well, that's part of the overcorrection. I think he's going to be on the field more. I think they know they have to stop the run. I think you're going to see more 5-man fronts, and we'll see. And then Slay's got to hold up, which he can. We know that. But Bradbury's got to hold up. Maddox has got to hold up, and more importantly, Epps and CJ Gardner-Johnson got to hold up.
Can the Eagles stop the Vikings run tonight? It's going to be one of the key aspects of the game. A guy who will be calling it en Espanol on the Eagles Spanish radio network is going to join us next. The voice of the Eagles in Spanish, Ricky Ricardo, up next here on Birds 365.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hits and the hits. Go for the steaks and the steaks. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's the #1 news at 10 p.m. Action News on PHL 17. Join Shari Williams, Gray Hall, Deuces Rogers, and meteorologist Adam Joseph for all the big stories at a time that's right for you. Action News at 10 p.m. on PHL 17.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
As long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Welcome to Pondley Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pondley Hockey a call.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Up and go Birds.
Game day here on a Monday on Birds 365. That's right, Monday Night Football action down at Lincoln Financial Field. Vikings, Eagles. We're now about too many hours away.
16 hours away, I think, Joe.
No, that's way
116 hours away.
It seems like too much. Well, one guy who will be in the house with John McMullen, but in the broadcast booth for the Eagles Spanish-speaking broadcast, the voice of the Eagles in Espanol, Ricky Ricardo, joins us. Ricardo, please tell us how you say, what can Brown do for you in Spanish?
What can Brown do for you?
Yes, AJ, I expect you to use this tonight when he gets his first Eagle touchdown pass.
Okay, ¿Qué puede ser Brown por ti?
And then you'll get served with the litigation from UPS from trademark.
Good morning,
hey, all news is good news, right? All publicity is good publicity. You might get a deal out of it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's true.
Sneak it in there tonight.
Letter, but one of the two is okay with me.
Ricky, good to see you, buddy.
Good morning, boys.
Good morning. A little bit too early.
Can somebody tell me, first of all, can somebody explain to me why there are two games at the same time tonight?
They staggered it, but here's my issue, Ricky. Why not have an East Coast game and a West Coast game if they're going to stagger it? And obviously that would give the people of Philadelphia a little bit earlier of a start time. They could finish up their revelry a little bit earlier, get to work a little bit easier the next day. It's a bad job by the NFL. I think that's fair to say.
I agree. I would have loved to have had the 7 o'clock slot with Vikings and Eagles and maybe put that Arizona Raider That could have been your 10 o'clock start, and everybody
I like
would have
it.
been
Ricky Ricardo's schedule maker, better than the NFL schedule maker.
Where's Goodell when you need him? I'm right here.
Yeah.
All right, Ricky. Last week the Eagles ran the ball very effectively. Yeah, kind of like they did last year when they, in midstream, changed tactics and became a running team and ran their way into the playoffs.
Correct.
They did it again last week, and they had to do it again last week. And I praise Jalen Hurts for doing just that last week and running the Eagles to a victory. Same thing in front of the hometown crowd tonight. Will the offensive coaching staff come in and say, well, once again, the thing we do best, other than throw it to A.J. Brown, is run the football. How run-heavy will they be tonight?
They've got to be at least a good 70-30. I'm going to that extreme.
Whoa.
Right? The pass protection, all right, give you 65-35. The pass protection was not what it was supposed to be. My fear, guys, and I think we've discussed this at nauseum all week on different shows and, in barbershops and everywhere else Eagle football gets talked about, is how long is Jalen Hurts going to last physically putting himself out there like that with his own runs? I think when you've got Sanders, who is relatively healthy, I don't know if Miles Sanders is ever really fully healthy, but when you've got Gainwell and, you've got your share of guys that can carry the load, that offensive line is built for run blocking. They're not as good, or at least they weren't last week, in pass protection as they were, and they have been in run blocking situations. Do what you do best, kill time off that clock, and protect Jalen Hurts, because as much as he ran last week, taking that kind of risk, he's never going to get through 17 games healthy, and you're going to see plenty of Gardner Minshew. So I think it's basic ABC football. That line is better as a run blocking unit. They've got healthy backs at this time of the season. Guys haven't been banged up yet. Use them. Run the football, kill the clock, and let's win maybe a 21-17 game as opposed to a 31 game.
Now, what do you say to people, Ricky, that say, well, you're paying $100 million to AJ Brown. You better get him the football. You didn't get Devontae Smith the football. He's a potential superstar in this league. You got to get him the football. Nick Sirianni's a offensive mind. He was supposed to be brought in to play 11 personnel and throw the football. You have all these outside voices, and let's be honest, they start at the top of the NovaCare complex with Jeffrey Lurie. He wants this high-octane passing offense. Are they happy if you just run the football and you play that way and you get out of Lincoln Financial Field with a grinded-out, ugly win?
I think if you win football games, I know, do style points matter here? I think coming away with wins will make people happy. Now, if during the course of the game, they're not thrilled by highlight plays and there's not a lot of an aerial show, well, so be it. Is the objective to win, as Herm Edwards said, do we play to win the game or are we here to entertain? So, look, the Eagles do certain things better than other teams. And one of those things, as we have seen from that point last season where they decided to go ahead and run the football, is chew up the clock, run the football. They are effective that way. At the same time, if it's not their quarterback that is running the football, they're keeping him relatively healthy. And let's face it, until they show me that they can pass block and give him enough time to hit his targets, and look, he's going to hit Brown enough anyway tonight. But is he going to have time to spread it around with Devontae and go to Goddard and maybe, get Quez Watkins down the field on a go route? I don't know. But all I know is they do one thing really, really well, and that's run the football. If that's the formula for a win, and especially now that the Giants are 2-0, the Cowboys of all people come up with a win against the AFC champions yesterday, and they're 1-1. You've got a battle in this division. So the key is to win the game, and if they're going to do it ugly, so be it.
Real quick, Ricky, I have never been less impressed by a 2-0 team in my life. I'm not worried about the New York Giants at all. Is anybody worried about the New York Giants? Jody, are you worried about the New York Giants?
No, I will say this. They're playing more inspired football. They've got a little bit more of an edge to them, I think, Brian Daboll.
I think he's much better coach. I think he's
the new
best
general
coach.
manager.
Already
in the right
best
direction.
coach they've had since Tom Coughlin after 2 games.
They're trending in the right direction. Do I have fear that they're going to run neck and neck with the Eagles all year in the division? No. At some point, the Giants will level off.
I'll tell you what, though, they're going to go 4-0 before they lose to Green Bay and London. They're going to win their next 2 games with Dallas coming in there on a Monday night. It's going to be bedlam in the Meadowlands, and then they've got the Bears after that. Now,
that's a good point. That's a good point.
Am I fearing the Giants? I mean, I'm not fearing the Giants, but they're going to start 4-0, and then they're going to go to London and probably lose to Aaron Rodgers and the Packers over there, or in Europe. But still, those are wins that are piling up early. So, do I think they're a threat to the Eagles? If they get ahead of the Eagles, you never know.
Giants will lose one of their next 2 games. Write it down.
Cooper Rush, baby. Cooper
though
Rush.
they'll probably be favored in both, I'll predict that they'll lose one of those 2. All right.
Which one?
They could lose either game. They could lose both. They could be 2-2. But
they're all at home. They're all in the Meadowlands. They're going to beat the Bears. Are terrible.
Bears are terrible.
Bears are
terrible.
I
feel sorry for Justin Fields. They're terrible.
I do too. That offensive line is a sieve.
Yeah,
not good. You're right. Probably if they lose, more likely to lose one will be next week against the Cowboys. And Cooper Rush didn't impress me. Well, impressed me to a point because he did drive him down the last possession to get the field goal
all he does
that he
is
needed. That Brett Maher just snuck inside the upright. Ricky, I need your prediction. Johnny Mac, I always ask you this every single week, but I want to get it from Ricky first.
All right.
Because I'm torn. I'm going to pick the Eagles. They may or may not cover. It's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be close. But I don't know what to predict, although I should. Whether if the Eagles win the toss, will the coach defer? I oftentimes complain that, come on, put your defense, put your offense out there. I don't know if I want them to put their offense out there. Ricky Ricardo tells me they're going to be able to run it down their throats, and they will do it again tonight, so maybe I'm rooting for that. If the Eagles win the toss, will they defer or will they take the ball?
Yes, they will defer, and they will want the football coming out of halftime.
Yeah.
Does the analytics say so? You buying into this crap too, Ricardo?
Look, it's the way that they operate. It's the chic in thing to do, I guess, in the coaching ranks in the National Football League. Is to put
and John's got less of a problem with this. He hates the fact that everybody plays the Fangio defense, but he's okay with the fact that everybody defers in the National Football League. Why not be the team, but be the creative team, be the outside-the-box team?
And remember this, Jody. When they kick off tonight, when they flip the coin, half the country's still going to be watching Tennessee and Buffalo. So for entertainment's sake, go ahead and put the defense out on the field. Half the country's still watching the other football game. When when the second half begins and Tennessee and Buffalo is over, well, we'll start the second half with our dynamic offense on the field.
Now I have to defend myself, Jody.
Go ahead, you can try.
I don't always advocate deferring, but most of the time. But I think you have to be self-aware as a coach. If you know the opposition has a better offense, a more explosive offense, then I want the football. I want to try to drain clock from minute 1. I want to try to go on a 13-play, 75-yard drive and shorten the game. That, Tampa Bay in the playoffs last year. I win that toss, I'm taking the football. I'm trying to keep it away from Tom Brady as much as possible. Now, a normal game, as Ricky says, you want to sandwich the first half and the second half with scores. And if you do that, you usually win the football game. The Eagles did that last week in Detroit. They did win. It shouldn't have been as difficult, but you usually win the football game. So I do think there is a little bit of a door open if you're playing an explosive team. Now, is Minnesota that explosive? I don't know. Maybe
you were
they
singing
will be.
Kirk Cousins' praises pretty good earlier in the show, Johnny.
Yeah,
Mac.
but remember, this is a new team. Like if it was a Mike Zimmer team, no, defer. They're going to try to play. They're not going to try to play to their strengths. Now,
I want to see Reagor. I want to see Reagor waiting for that opening kickoff at the height of the energy vibe inside Lincoln Financial Field.
Good
having
point,
that
Ricky.
ball hit him in
I
the
had not
hand,
thought of that.
and he
Could
dropped
Jalen
the
cough it
ball.
up on the opening kickoff? That
No.
would be.
Reagor
Oh
will
my God!
drop the opening kickoff and will fumble it to the Eagles.
I'm gonna ruin both of your days. He doesn't
He's
return.
not returning.
No,
kicks.
he doesn't return kicks. They have a very good kick returner. Wangu from Iowa State. I think that's how you pronounce it. He had 2 touchdowns on kickoff returns last year. So that might scale you away from kicking the football.
So
off.
then, would you put Aaron Sipas out there and just go? We're going to free kick it.
Yeah,
from the 35-yard line.
They would still probably put Wangu out there. So you're probably now on punts. You're going to have a chance to see Jalen Reagor. So maybe he can make a mistake in that aspect of it. But that's interesting, Ricky, because there's 3. Jordan Hicks is coming back, who was a great linebacker for this team. Chandon Sullivan's coming back as their starting nickel corner. He was here for a while. And Jalen Reagor. You're not concerned with Jalen Reagor, concerned with Jordan Hicks. Guy's a playmaker. Sacked Brett Favre last week, forced a fumble last week.
I loved Hicks when he was here. The Eagle linebacking core has not been. Look, let's be honest.
They haven't had a linebacker like Jordan Hicks.
Not been the same since he left. Yeah. So yeah. I agree with you there. But put Kirk Cousins out on the field. Hit him, for Pete's sake. Get that vaunted, high-paid defensive line right out of the gate. That's the one unit tonight that I want to see take a quantum leap forward here. Is the Eagle defensive line tonight. Put Cousins out on the field, sack Cousins in that first sequence on that first drive, get the energy going for the defense inside the building and set the tone that the Vikings are not just going to come in here and have their way on offense against this Birds defense. And I'm dead serious. Go ahead and win the toss, defer, hit smack Cousins in the mouth a couple times, and then let's run the football a little bit.
No, this will be unpopular with Eagle Nation, but sorry. You mentioned the vaunted defensive line, highly paid defensive line, Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Brandon Graham. And we all know Brandon is one of the most popular Eagle players, great guy, great motivational leader, strip sack, Tom Brady, Super Bowl, all those things. He didn't do diddly last week either. And Johnny Mack and others who are there practice every single day have told me all ooh, he looks good. He looks spry. Doesn't look like he's coming back off a year injury. Looks like he's actually ready to jump in and play. Well, he hid pretty well, like the rest of the Eagle defensive line last week. BG under a little bit of a microscope tonight for you, Ricky?
I agree. And so is Fletcher Cox. I mean, Fletcher Cox last week had the one play, the sack where he does the whole, the crawl thing on the field. And then the next thing I know.
Which, by the way, the quarterback dropped the ball ahead of time. He wouldn't have had the sack if the quarterback just grabbed the snap.
That means going into the blue tent, coming off the field after doing the whole army crawl on the field. So I couldn't figure that one out. Look, these two guys could be their last seasons in the National Football League. We know that. They didn't do it last week. Hopefully the home opener energy tonight will be enough to light their fire and get them rolling tonight because they will be needed. This is a Viking team that is explosive. Look, you can talk about Kirk Cousins all you want. He occasionally will give you a tremendous game, and we have seen him have good games against the Eagles in the past, both in the Washington uniform and in the Viking. Now, I think if you put your hands on him early in the game, he's one of those quarterbacks. He's human after all. And, that you put something into his mind that he's going to be under pressure tonight, he's a different guy. But those are two key people right there in BG and Fletcher Cox that are veterans that, we all love them in Philadelphia. You got one more year left. Fine. Go out there, do your job, put some pressure on that quarterback tonight. We're going to need it early in the game.
All right, Ricky, you're taking phone calls all the time on WIP. Jody's taking phone calls on WIP as well. You know this fan base. You know what they want. You just talked about it. Pressure, 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 aggression, sacks, sacks, sacks. They're not blitzing a lot. So what can they do other than Hassan Reddick playing better, Brandon Graham playing better, as you mentioned, Fletcher Cox playing better, Javon Hargrave playing better? Is it just as simple as they have to play better?
Well, it's not only that, but I think that with the talent that they've got behind them at linebacker in the secondary this year as compared to what we've seen the last couple of seasons, I think they can afford to take some more risks and have a few more blitzes. Yes, Reddick needs to be the guy that he's supposed to be. Everything you just said is correct, but I just don't. I watched Wink Martindale's defense last night as I watched the Giant game. That's more Jim Johnson than what the Eagles are doing. I'm not a read and react guy. I hope Gannon's a little bit more aggressive tonight in his play calling on the defensive side. I think you can afford to blitz more because I think you've got better talent back there, in case that ball does get thrown or the offense does function. So not only do people have to step it up for the back of their own baseball or football card in this instance, but I think Gannon needs to be much more aggressive, play a Philadelphia style, quote unquote, Philadelphia style defense, more pressure. Look, don't do things that are going to risk or leave things open down the field unnecessarily, but I think he can afford to take a few more risks. I thought he was very, very vanilla. Look, against the Lions, when they did blitz, John, you were there, after the opening drive, when they put some pressure on Goff, it kind of shut him down for the rest of the first half. So there was a big difference between the play calling on defense on the first drive when DeAndre Swift is running right through everybody like Swiss cheese as compared to the rest of that first half. And then I thought they kind of sat back on their laurels a bit, as the Ravens did yesterday, to give you an example. Last week, don't do that, okay? Stay aggressive. I think Gannon needs to be more aggressive. He can call a few more blitzes, some run blitzes too, please, against a guy like Dalvin Cook, all right? And make those kind of moves. I think you can do that tonight, and I think that'll help you win this football game.
Ricky, there are some things that I try and be ahead of the curve on and think outside the box on. And there are some things that I'm just dug in, heels in the ground, old school about.
Mm-hmm.
And I got a bit of an issue with the Eagles and how they prepped for this season, same as last season, maybe even more so. Even this week, guys who aren't injured, guys who, have been around for a while but aren't 40 like Tom Brady, are not practicing because of rest. No injuries, just rest. Josh Sweat isn't all that old, but he had some injury problems when he was in college, but we need to give him downtime and give him rest. It's just not my way of doing things. I'm going to keep on top of this, and I'm going to evaluate the Eagles and where they're at. Week 1, the defense looked like they weren't ready to play for me. Are you old school? Are you new school? Are the Eagles smarter than us, or are the Eagles outsmarting themselves?
I am as old school as you are, Jody. I am Don Shula with a grin 2 a days, watching my guys almost faint. All right. Well, maybe not to that extreme, but you know what I mean. No. I am not a proponent of this analytic-driven, and this is medical analytics-driven approach to getting a football team ready for a season and for a specific football game. It's beautiful that the injury list says nothing. All right, that's great. There's nobody that's out tonight. Now, if that's the goal, and obviously they've had so many injury issues the past few seasons that they have gone out of their way to put a lot of emphasis on how can we keep guys healthy. That's one thing. But at the same time, if you have healthy guys that are not ready to play, then the game suffers right then and there. It's a thin line. I would lean more on your end, Jody. I think, some more activity. I would have trained a little bit harder as far as training camp and preseason is concerned. That's water under the bridge. We can do nothing about that now. But I think a little bit more intense preparation would not hurt this team one bit.
Is that preparation the reason, you talked about last week, Ricky, and the Eagles had that game well in hand, and they let Detroit back in the game. Now
They
you saw
gassed.
Yeah.
John, they got gassed.
Yeah. Now you mentioned Baltimore. There was Las Vegas yesterday, a couple other games. Jets, Jody's Jets. Jets.
Yeah.
You had all these comebacks all over the NFL.
Mine too, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a Jet guy too.
I don't want to get you both in trouble. So
that's all right. Hey, the Jets and Eagles are rivals.
Yeah, Jody's already in trouble.
They're both Eagles own the Jets when they play anyway.
I won't talk about baseball because I'll get Ricky in there.
Yeah. Green teams that fly. That's all.
Exactly. So I'm not going to bring up baseball either. But so many teams are losing these big leads, and they look like they have everything in order, everything very comfortable, foot off the gas, whatever you want to call it. Is it foot off the gas? Is it coaching mistakes, or is it preparation?
I think it's a combination of both. I really do. You look at that Raven team yesterday; they were gassed. These guys were not physically ready. The Dolphins receivers were running by them like they were statues late in that football game. These guys were hunched over. The Raven defense, after, for Pete's sake, Duvernay 103-yard kickoff return to start the game. By the time they got to the fourth quarter, the Raven defense was gassed. Half of that is the way they prepared all the way from training camp. And then again, lack of aggressiveness on the defense. I don't know who is the new defensive coordinator, because Martindale now is with the Giants.
Yeah, Wink. I have to look that up. That's a good.
Whoever's
question.
running the defense in Baltimore is just as guilty of what Gannon was guilty of last week. Taking the foot off the gas, read and react. We've got a lead, and sometimes you roll that dice and it comes up, the wrong way. So. I'm a proponent of constant pressure. If guys need the oxygen mask, late in the game, so be it. Put it on them. They've got a whole week to rest. But we've seen example after example, especially yesterday, of teams with big leads, and that defense eases up a little bit. It happened to the Browns. It happened to the Raiders. It happened to the Ravens. And it almost happened to the Eagles last Sunday.
Yeah, the great Mike McDonald, by the way. The great Mike McDonald.
By the way,
Ravens.
No relation. He spells it with an A. Yes. So there is no relation. I'm not taking any of the blame for yesterday's Ravens collapse. Put that on a different McDonald. All right, Ricky, what kind of a factor is the crowd tonight? Huge. How big a hand in the game do they have? Johnny Mac told me you couldn't even hear yourself think in Detroit last week, and he thinks that helped the Lions kind of stay in the game. Usually it affects the other team's offense more, and the Eagles put up 38 points. I don't know how much the home field, the crowd noise level actually did play in that game. But assuming it does, how big a factor is the Eagle crowd tonight?
Look, that place is going to be wild tonight. The weather is fantastic. It's comfortable. People are going to be gassed up, fueled up a little bit.
Okay? Yes, they are. They're already there, Ricky.
From the tailgating in the parking lot. Look, I think this is a game where you need to establish dominance early, and that might be enough in the mental aspect of the chess game to carry you through 60 minutes of action on the field. So I do think Eagles Nation right now is highly anticipating this matchup. Philadelphia loves to be in the spotlight, whether it's negative or positive. We just, as Jody, as you said, all publicity is good publicity. And it's on ABC. It's not even the ESPN half of this doubleheader tonight. It's national TV, over the air, 8:30. It's the late. It's got every element that Philadelphia and this fan base loves. An undefeated Eagle team with high expectations against the same team that they beat in the NFC Championship game just a few years ago to go to the Super Bowl. So the visual is still there of success against the Viking horn helmet. I think the crowd is going to be beyond off the charts tonight, and I think it'll help much more. I think it'll pump up the defense. I think the offense and Hurts are very business-like. They'll go about their business in a certain way. But if there's anyone that needs a little charge tonight, a little, red-hot branding iron, it's the defense, and I think that crowd may provide a little bit of impetus to get that defense fired up tonight.
Well, I'm going to blame Ed Kracz for this one, and I'm going to our buddy Ed, and I'm going to steal something from Jody, the hypothetical, Ricky.
All right.
So I'm going to talk about the crowd. They defer. So the Eagles win the coin toss. They defer, so they get Jody Mack upset from that perspective. They kick off. The Vikings go down the field, 7-0, 3 and out. They get the football back. They score again. It's 14-0. Does that crowd turn on Jonathan Gannon? Does it become a worse situation for the Eagles?
Well, that's the risk you run. Yes, I if that scenario plays out the way you just said, John, then I can hear they could be boo birds before halftime, because I think we're on that brink right now where this crowd wants to see if Cousins gets hit. Let's say, I don't know, Reddick sacks him on that first drive. This place is going to go bananas. But if Cousins starts, with a screen pass to Cook to the left, hits Jefferson down the field, maybe hits the tight end on a third down, and they go right down the field, this place could go an extreme from one end to the other, do a complete 180 as far as the energy is concerned very, very quickly. That is the one risk you take, especially with a situation like you've got tonight, where there's going to be a lot of emotion in the seats.
All right, so Johnny Mac goes completely pessimistic, glass half empty with his hypothetical, but it is just a hypothetical. I get that. Now we got to actually get on the record. Ricky Ricardo.
Yes, sir.
After 60 minutes of football tonight, the possibilities exist on both sides, up and down, good and bad. What does your crystal ball say when the game is over and done with? Are the screaming Eagle fans heading out to the parking lot with the EAGLES, or are they cursing Jonathan Gannon or Shane Steichen because Jalen Hurts ran and got hurt? Which way's it going? We talking a W or an L for the Eagles against the Vikings tonight?
My bold prediction for tonight is that the smallest guy on the field will make the biggest difference, and that would be one Jake Elliott.
I thought you were going Britton Covey on me. Wow.
Jake Elliott will kick the winning field goal. The Eagles will win this game 27-24.
27-24. So slightly on the over, because the over-under is 50. So you got it just over, but the Eagles winning and covering. Ricky, always a pleasure, buddy. Have a great call tonight. How do you say, what can Brown do for you again?
¿Qué puede ser Brown por usted?
He may just sneak it in there tonight. Ricky, always a pleasure, buddy. Thanks much.
Now I'm going to use it.
Yes, you are. I knew you would.
If I get a cease and desist letter, I'm sending it to the McDonald residence.
Whatever the fine is, I'll pay half.
You got a deal.
That is Ricky Ricardo, the voice of the Eagles en Espanol, here with us on Birds 365. All right, Mac and Mac. How do you say Mac and Mac in Spanish? Mac and Mac. Mackie Mac.
Yeah.
Coming back here on Birds 365 for predictions from both McMullen and McDonald. Stay tuned.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's the #1 news at 10 p.m. Action News on PHL 17. Join Shari Williams, Gray Hall, Deuces Rogers, and meteorologist Adam Joseph for all the big stories at a time that's right for you. Action News at 10 p.m. on PHL 17.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Welcome to Pondley Hockey. We've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. If you've been injured at work, give Pondley Hockey a call.
Go passionately. Go fearlessly. Go confidently.
Go Birds!
Go confidently towards your goals with First Trust, Philly's hometown bank for nearly 90 years, and the official bank of the Philadelphia Eagles. We're focused on getting you over the goal line. So go with conviction, go with trust,
Go Birds!
and go forward with us by your side. First Trust Bank, the official bank of Philadelphia dreams. Up and go Birds.
You got your MAGA Mac guys, McMullen and McDonald, putting a bow on the show here on Birds 365. A game day Monday. That's right, Monday Night Football. Not starting until 8:30. If you're going down to the game, enjoy yourself. Drink responsibly. And feel free to tune in on the early game before we ever get to the Eagles. We'll be back here tomorrow to talk about an Eagle victory or a loss. Ed Kracz, previously here on the show, said he thought the Vikings were actually going to win. Ricky Ricardo just said a late Jake Elliott field goal lifts the Eagles to a 3-point victory, 27-24. Johnny Mac, you have the honors.
Well,
Eagles.
Ricky stole my thunder.
Really?
So, number one, he did. I had the Eagles winning a close game late on the Jake Elliott field goal. 24-23 is my score. And I think Jalen Hurts makes the big play late to get them in field goal position, probably off schedule, probably running the football. And we're going to be back here tomorrow morning. I'm going to be tired, Jody, but I'm going to be back here tomorrow morning, and we're going to be talking again about the Eagles winning because of Jalen Hurts, not despite Jalen Hurts.
I think Jalen will be fine again tonight. I don't think he'll rush for as many yards as he did last week, but he's going to make a couple plays with his legs tonight. Bank on it. It's happening. And if you're going to complain about it, then shame on you. No, here's where I'll differ from both you and Ricky and Ed, as a matter of fact. I think it will be won defensively late. They were pitiful last week defensively. They're just awful. They can't be as bad as they were last week. I think Kirk Cousins will actually have the ball with a chance to drive it late. They're going to need a touchdown rather than just a field goal, so that puts a little extra pressure on them. They got to throw a little bit more, and the Eagles defense comes up with a stop on 4th down, and they run out the clock. So my final score is going to be 24-20. I think it's going to be an under. It's a 50-point over-under.
I got the under as well. 24-23.
Yeah, you're slightly under. I'm a little bit more under, but we're both going under. We both have the Eagles winning, which will make for a good show tomorrow, which, by the way, I mentioned this last week here on Birds 365, in case you weren't tuned in that day. And oh, by the way, thanks to everybody who listened. We were up in the 400 and change number all show long. Like, share, subscribe. do your boys, Johnny Mac, a little bit of a favor and go ahead and like the show before you get out of Dodge today. Tomorrow will be our 365th.
Yeah, how about
Birds
that?
365.
Who said we wouldn't last, Jody? 365, baby.
We've done a couple of these when I haven't overslept. But stupid alarm. I plan on being up. The question is more, will Johnny Mac be up than Jody Mac be up?
This might be the first time you got to worry.
2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in bed by 12:30. Bank
2
on
o'clock.
it. I'm not on
wish I could
WIP
get out
tonight
by
because
2
I got to
o'clock.
do all the Eagles stuff. So I will be in bed half an hour after the Eagles salt away their victory tonight. Johnny Mac isn't going to get home till late, so we'll be here at 8 o'clock tomorrow. See if he oversleeps like I do from time to time.
Yeah.
Should be a good show. We're going to have Chris Franklin on, our buddy from NJ.com, a little bit later, review the game, and Joe Santoliquito, who writes for everybody under the planet,
including JAKIB Sports,
JAKIB Sports, and is a good dude and a good guy and a good guest. If his microphone works, we're going to check in with him early and make sure his mic is all hooked up. But he was on our first Birds 365, 364 shows ago. So we're bringing him back. We had Kracz on today. Our first show was Santoliquito and Kracz. So we had Easy Ed on for number 364, 365 tomorrow. Santoliquito, Franklin, John McMullen, and Jody McDonald. We will be back here tomorrow, hopefully talking about an Eagle win in 2-2.
You've been listening to Birds 365, the destination for the passionate Eagles football fan who bleeds green. If it's Eagles football, we're talking about it. Debate inside the locker room and guests that are some of the greatest football minds from around the region. We hope you enjoyed the show. We know we had a blast. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll be back soon. But in the meantime, hook up with us on social media at JAKIB Sports. See you next time on Birds 365.